On Wednesday, Republican Party leaders in the House of Representatives presented draft aid bills for Ukraine, among other countries. It involves $61 billion in support. The vote is expected to take place tomorrow.
What we'll do is bring to the House floor independent measures. We won't be voting on the Senate supplemental in its current form, but we will vote on each of these measures separately in 4 different pieces. We will vote on the Israel aid, on the aid to Ukraine, on the aid to the Indo-Pacific, and then another measure that has our national security priorities included, and that has some of the things with regard to the loan lease option and the Repo Act and some other sanctions on Iran and other measures that we've been talking about here for quite some time.
Earlier in the day, Mike Johnson was skeptical of further funding for Ukraine because of the fight to change migration laws in the United States. The speaker is working strongly with Donald Trump, who just met with Polish President Andrzej Duda. The politicians discussed support for Ukraine. I said, today it's easier to give money because Ukrainians want to defend themselves. They have the will to defend their homeland, which means we will give them money at the moment, equipment, so that they have a way to face Russian aggression. Then in the future, when it turns out that Russian imperialism, as we unfortunately fear, will spill over more and more into Europe. Because if Putin conquers Ukraine, Poland could be next. Maybe it's better for the U.S. taxpayer to sacrifice just a few dollars today to help the defenders of Ukraine. And that's the same position the Polish president presented a month ago to U.S. Speaker Mike Johnson, who has now changed his mind. The Polish president's influence on American politics is being recognized by foreign media, like Politico. Their dinner meeting at Trump Tower lasted more than 2 hours, according to Trump's people. They discussed the war between Russia and Ukraine. I think he later analyzed it for himself, those aspects of our conversation. He just had topics from me directly, from a man who lives in that part of the world, who directly lives in a country bordering Ukraine, which is defending itself against Russian aggression. President Duda stressed that Poland's security is a strong North Atlantic alliance and strong support from the United States, hence the talks with both Biden and Trump, as one of these politicians will be elected U.S. president in November. Trump behaves differently as a candidate. He will certainly behave and make decisions differently as president. He is a key figure for us, so we can't alienate a possible U.S. president right now, which I think is a mistake, playing only to one goal, playing only to one side, which is what the current prime minister in Poland is doing. Due to the fact that Tusk is not hiding his dislike of Trump. I personally would not recommend such a meeting with Trump, because it somehow may affect the election campaign in the States, but the president makes the decisions. Instead of the United States, Tusk prefers to bet on Germany, starting with the Germans. Here you can see 2 visions of conducting foreign policy: President Duda's pro-American foreign policy and Prime Minister Tusk's pro-German foreign policy. Tusk's approach to our country's subjectivity towards our Western neighbor is also questionable. These words of Bartłomiej Sienkiewicz in 2018 are still quite shocking. In my opinion, we are a peripheral country. This is often not talked about because it is not something to be proud of either, but all 4 Central European countries function as elements of Germany's internal economy. Poland under Donald Tusk, unfortunately, will be going towards Berlin on its knees, and if these very dangerous regulations for the creation of an EU army are introduced, which will blow the North Atlantic Pact apart from the inside, whose task is to push the United States out of Europe, then we can be sure that we will actually become a country that will not be safe, because it will have no way to defend itself, and we will only be dependent on Berlin. And this could make it easier for Putin to carry out his imperialist plans. Adrian Borecki, TV Republika.